James is having soup. I'm going to be talking about planting seeds, and he's going to be talking about the Cantos. And yeah, so there's my little setup back there, and we'll see how this goes. So while James is talking about the Cantos, I will be busy. But I just wanted to point out that I don't, that I get the dairy products cheap. That's why James is eating that lately. Because the cream was $1.75 for that container. It's really cheap. So, now, one thing I wanted to mention about seeds, I picked out some very small seeds to work with today. Well, not all of them are small. I mean, some of them are a little bit bigger, but I have some thyme here, and mostly I'm going to be working with basil today. I have some sage in here too, but those things, you got to start them early, really early, or you're not going to get anything.
In other words, early in the new year, right?
Yeah.
It's not like early in
So
May
already
or
I'm getting a little bit late starting these things, really. But
because we're just a few days away from February.
yeah, and usually I would plant them around the beginning of January. So what I'm going to say is, when you get your peat moss or whatever, maybe you're using a mix with perlite, vermiculite, whatever, then you want to mix it in a different container first. Now this one is a great container for starting seedlings. So you probably you're going through your recycling and thinking, okay, well, what's going to make good seedling starter containers, right? Or whatever. And you might look at a yogurt container like this and go, oh, that'll be great for tomatoes. Well, it will, but not right now. It'll be great for tomatoes when you transplant them later on. And honestly, since I'm starting them this late, I don't even know if my tomatoes will make it to this size by the time I need to be planting them out. So, and then you might be thinking, well, I can start each seed in this. Don't start each seed in one of these little containers. You can poke a few holes in the bottom of these and then put them on like the lids for these work really well for a drip tray later on for the little containers like that. But for now, it's best to start even your tomatoes, every little seed in something like this, because now with basil, for sure, you want something with a lid. So, which side of it was open? I don't remember. I think this side. So, you want a lid because you want to put it only maybe halfway full with your potting mix, and then you want something like this will work, this container will work, because it has this plastic cover, and that'll help keep it moist. You can also use saran wrap if you want to, but you want, especially the little seeds like basil, they're not planted deep because they're just tiny little seeds, so they very easily dry out, and you don't want them to dry out while they're just getting started. So you want something that you can cover up. That's all. There are other things that are, like, some seeds aren't so difficult to, I'll just set this down here for now so that I can have something. Some seeds can take drying out a little bit better. Not basil. Basil does not take that very well. So that's something to keep in mind. If you love growing tomatoes, as I do, then it's probably smart to grow basil too, because they're companion plants. So
is it generally the smaller seeds that dry out?
Yes, because they're up near the surface. But
I would have guessed it's because they've got more surface per unit volume.
Well, that could be very well too, but the thing is, when you have a container, any container, the outside of the container is going to dry out before the middle, and usually your seed's in the middle, but the top of your soil, or soilless medium, whatever, the top of that is the outside of the container, and it's gonna dry out even more quickly than the other sides, right? There's nothing to help keep the moisture in. So there's no barricade there, it's just air.
A generalized principle, it's not just basil seeds, but smaller seeds you can watch out.
Yeah, but not all small seeds. Now, this mix, it's nice and moist, but you might get a mix and it might not be. And so I brought the water out, and usually, like what I was going to show you is you can mix it in one container and then move, like put the moisture that you need to make the soil something that you would want to plant in, and then you can move it to another container. That's some wind, eh? So, let's see, that's still maybe a little bit not so deep. I want it a little bit more deep than that. And another thing that that's maybe okay. So this one, that's about okay for my seeds. That's because I want room for the basil to start growing and get probably at least 4 true leaves on them before I take the lid off, because otherwise they're going to dry right out. But I brought this container out thinking this is going to be fun, because now if you're just growing your basil or whatever you're growing, if you want something that you don't want a lot of them, you only want like maybe 6 plants of each type. Like basil, you might want to grow lots of different types of basil. You might be excited about that, but you don't have a lot of garden space. And you know, well, the basil, they're going to take about the same sort of care, but you don't want them, you want them divided so you know which is which or whatever. You can still write with your marker, you can write on the outside of this so you know where each type is planted. And so that's kind of handy too. Anyway, so I thought I'd bring that out. And now, another thing to mention with the small seeds is you barely cover them at all. So, I was going to mention some small seeds, they don't dry out as fast. So you don't need to, you might be thinking, oh boy, I got some seeds for some, what are they called? Those, are they Cape gooseberries? They're called, is that right?
It could be. They're the kind of gooseberries we had in Africa.
Yes. So
we weren't that far north of the
James
Cape.
told me they were gooseberries, and I was like, no, they're not, because they're not the kind of gooseberries we have here. But they're, so here they're called, we call them something else usually, but they're called Cape gooseberries. And
That'd
anyway,
be the Cape in South Africa.
Yeah.
Cape
So-
of Good Hope.
Yeah, and I can't think of the name that I knew them as before then, but they're a superfood. And so they were popular a few years ago, and I found, wow, everybody should be growing them here because they grow so well. They really love the sun.
They are, they're very hardy. They're hard to kill.
Yeah, but they're not winter hardy. You have to plant them. But I'd bring them in, and they were like as tall as the ceiling, and try to wheel them in with the.
And
anyway,
they kind of survive indoors.
Yeah, and so you just put them in a room with a window, and they're really easy to care for. Anyway,
and then when you get them outside again,
they just boom,
they
lush
really
again.
reward the,
Yeah, and you have so many of them, so much fruit. So anyway, if you have those seeds, you're like, oh my gosh, these seeds are like so tiny. They must dry out really fast and die. No, not like basil. You could keep them in pots and they're okay. I don't know. Wild. Okay.
Well, the climate in the Cape is pretty dry.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're native to there or what.
Right.
Much of the Cape is Mediterranean climate, which means they've basically got in the summertime the equivalent of almost of a short-term desert.
All right, so you go ahead whenever you're ready and deal with this. Because honestly, this is so windy. I don't want to take these little seeds seeds out and put them in, because I'm worried that my little
They'll
seeds,
end up not in Coaldale, in
yeah,
Chamber.
exactly. That's exactly what I'm worried about. So I'm going to do this other part inside because it's just way too windy out here. So
Kind of annoying, but
yeah,
I'm going to be annoying people with Ezra Pound. The people who have taste and don't like Ezra Pound, they'll just be annoyed. The people who like
and there's
Ezra
cheese
Pound.
in that bag.
Oh, that's what that's.
Yeah.
I'm sure glad
So,
I kept
anyway,
it up.
I was going to mention another thing. I brought these seeds out so that you could see the packages on the top. They're from the library. The library gives away seeds.
That's the downtown library. No?
Yeah, the Lethbridge Public Library. So if you want some seeds, want to try seeds, like I was saying, you're like, oh, I really want to try several different kinds of basil to see which one does the best for me, or which one I like best, or whatever. Well, you don't have to go spend a lot of money. You can get together with your friends and go to the library and pick out a bunch of different basil types and then start them. And that'll be great. So then you can all share in your basils, you know.
The other thing is having plants indoors. They might be suffering a little bit, but you'll reward them in the summertime.
Yes.
It provides oxygen. It's healthy.
It's healthy for you, and it's healthy for them.
It's healthy for them because you're providing
because you're
carbon dioxide back to them.
and you're giving them a home for the summer, and you're taking care of them. So it's really nice. I think it makes.
They're kind of like a sessile pet.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, they're just a part of the family. So I can't put some of these really deep because there's not enough room above it. But some of these I can put deeper, and I'll just have to transplant these two side ones out faster into something like the little yogurt, the little yogurt container I was showing you. Great. Anyway, you can go on with your.
Okay, here we go. So yeah, it's.
Sorry,
I've got a hibiscus over at my place, which is basically the library, but
well, it's your house.
And
Mine is the art studio.
There we go.
That's where mine is.
Library, art studio.
Yeah.
But,
One day we'll have a house with both, maybe.
Well,
but
we
for
need
now,
more room.
Yeah.
And especially for the books. It really pays, I think, to have an art studio where you've got some room to have some
mess.
Or what?
It's messy doing art.
Well, it is. Anyway, I've got a hibiscus. I've kept it alive now for years, and I'm proud of it. It doesn't really flourish usually under my care because I'm always afraid of putting too much water on and some sort of there's basically a mold or something like that where it comes with too much water. Anyway, I just try to avoid that every so occasionally.
I just thought of something else to mention about watering since you brought up watering. You want to leave enough room at the top of your plant pot, whatever you're using as a plant pot, to water. That's all I have. So, but for now, you also want to, say I was putting water in here and then mixing it into a different container to plant or whatever. That's a good idea. If your mix isn't very moist.
That's nice and moist.
I know it's nice. So anyway, but if it isn't, then you'll want to mix in a different container, moist, and then put it in. But to see how, you might be like, well, how moist do I make it? Well, if you take it out of the container and it's really dripping wet, that's way too moist. So you just kind of have to.
Yeah, bugs like that sort of
And
stuff.
when you don't have any holes in the bottom, and I don't plant with holes in the bottom for the first, like when I plant my seeds, I don't.
Can you lose too much
moisture?
material?
It's so dry in Lethbridge inside.
Yeah, so you gotta.
I haven't had to have.
Climate.
Yeah, I'm careful about how I water. I don't water too much, and it doesn't get. I don't end up with my plants rotting away. It's worked out for me this way for years. So honestly, in Lethbridge, I wouldn't recommend you have holes in your containers. Even outside, I'd recommend you put something over your containers if it's raining, so that it doesn't get too wet, like say in June when we get a lot of rain. But aside from that, I wouldn't even use, because it's so dry. It's so dry here. They just dry out so fast.
Many different climates. The outfit I used to plant trees with, I'm not going to mention what it is, or was, or whatever. We started planting boulevard trees at level, because you're told to do that.
Yeah, well.
Plant it below. And boulevard trees were dying because people didn't water. And so, the vast majority of people didn't water. And so what someone in our crew decided to do was plant a little bit below level. And that the trees seemed to do much better under that regimen. But, you know, like most places in the world, you wouldn't want to do that. Very dry summers, July and August here in Lethbridge. June is when we get the plurality of our rainfall, actually. Usually count on one, maybe two, if we're lucky, three cyclonic storm kind of rainfalls, multi-day rain in June. I always thought of May as being our rainy month. We might get more rainy days, but we don't get usually in May the kind of heavy rains that we get in multi-day rain. Here in Lethbridge, Canto 2, Ezra Pound. Hang it all, Robert Browning. There can be but one sordello. So sordello's a type. But sordello and my sordello, la sordel sifo de Mantovano. So she churned in the sea. So hang it all. I think Robert Browning wrote, I've read all of Robert Browning's work. It was, I think, at least 2 columns, maybe 800 pages, maybe a little less. That was quite an adventure. Robert Browning's approximately the first real poet in the English language. The first poet in the English language who actually wrote English without using conversion. He didn't have a very good sense of rhythm. Ezra Pound himself called Robert Browning on more than one occasion, in more than one instance, really. Old hippity hop of the accents. Old hippity hop. Oh, the accents. Shakespeare, you'll find often it's of the is written oda, and it's supposed to be, I guess, the equivalent of one unaccented syllable. Old hippity hop. Oh, the accents. Robert Browning. But sordello and my sordello, lo sordel sifo de Mantovana. So that seems a little bit like ancient, maybe Italian. And Mantovana means, Mantovani probably means from Mantua. Mantua. You say Mantua, but I think you know. And it's a place in relatively northern Italy. And I think that means sordellos. I don't know why there's an S there, sordels. I was in school with something. I think it means sordel. So she churned in the sea. So shu churned in the sea. That's some Chinese stuff that looks like so shu. I don't know what the letters churned in the sea. So shu. Churned in the sea. I wonder if that's a Buddhist thing. So of course, it's a Hindu concept. The churning of the Milk Sea. Presumably, the Milk Sea is actually the galaxy in Greek. Which means milk. That's a very good term. But it might be a concept original with the Europeans. Back when the ancestors of the Greeks were basically the ancestors of the Germanic peoples and the Latin type of peoples. Indic people, so on and so forth. Okay, seal sports in the spray whited circles of cliff wash. No, seal sports, not seal sports. What is that? Like you read that and you say seal sports. Okay, these are sports, Olympic sports or something like that.
That seals are doing, like sliding on their bellies into the water really fast.
Yeah, taking a big dive, like Mark Spitz.
They seem
coming
to
out
have a
the
lot of
block.
fun doing that. But anyway, so
Stupid.
I wanted to mention one more thing about seeds that I forgot.
It's much more important than this, folks.
Yes.
Go.
So when you're germinating, you've gotten your containers together, you've planted them in the little seeds, you haven't put them very far from the surface of the soil at all. They're just barely under it. And then you've covered your containers over, they're nice and moist. And where do you put them? You're thinking right in front of the window. No, don't do that. Because they're not up yet, and there are some seeds that do need light to germinate. But you can look that up, there's not very many that do. Most of them don't. And so all they need is a nice warm place. And in front of the window, when we're going to be having minus 16 kind of weather again in a couple days from now, or 3 days from now, well, that's probably not going to be a very warm place. Especially if it's in a place like my house where I don't heat my house very much. So, it's
what do
not
you have
very
it
warm
set
for-
at, 17 or 18?
18 this
Okay,
year.
there we go.
Yeah, I'm really treating
It used to be
myself to 18
18.5.
degrees
I think last year it was
Celsius.
17.0. But
Yeah. So what I do is I end up cooking with the oven a fair amount when it's cold to make James dinners,
With
and
the
that
gas
heats
oven.
up the house
You-
a bit. So
You don't want to
but-
use a gas oven in the summertime.
no, don't want to cook at all in the summer here. It's very hot. So, but I guess some people, they just have their temperature all the time year round, and they have air conditioning going in the summer. I don't have air conditioning, so it's I definitely don't want to do any cooking in there. So anyway,
Well, I mean,
in
what
the-
you do is you cook outside on the deck and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And you can do a variety of different things. You can grill or whatever.
Yeah, but honestly, it's better not even to cook in the summer. It's better just to, I think, go raw food.
Well, I
in the
mean,
summer.
especially later on in the summer, you can start getting carrots when around beginning of August or something like that.
Yeah,
Even a little bit
exactly.
earlier. So,
Yeah, they come.
eat
The
fresh
root
fruit,
crops come
veggies,
just in
veggies.
time to start cooking in the inside, and the leafy greens are great for the summer, and smoothies and stuff, whatever. So anyway,
dandelion
but
smoothies.
no, what?
That's earlier in the year.
Yeah, that's earlier. So
You
you're going
wanna
to get some of that.
You want to get
yeah,
them early.
So what I was going to say about the seeds is you want to find someplace warm. So what I do is I have a table in front of the window where I put my seedlings later. Like right now there's a bunch of plants there, but they're going to have to sacrifice their window space for my seedlings, and they're going to have to go elsewhere in the house, because I have like one window in particular that's really awesome for seedlings, so that the seedlings get it. And but underneath the window there's a heat vent, and so actually, like, I have curtains around so the light reflects. Like I like to have white curtains to reflect the light onto the seedlings, and then so anyway, the underneath the table though is very warm with the heat vent there. So that's where I put on the floor where the heat vent is, and then I'll move them up. And I know it doesn't make sense because hot air rises and cold air goes down, but there is actually the best spot in
Well,
my house.
it's under a little bit of cover, so
Yeah.
it builds up a little.
It builds up a little there, and it works out really well. So that's where I put my seedlings to germinate them, and then I keep checking them and go, oh yep, there they are, and then they move up. So that's all. That's all I have for you.
So
I
seal,
should tell you how much.
maybe 5.
I don't know. Oh yeah, that's all you have. Man, I really took a lot of time.
It
Sorry
doesn't
about
matter.
that.
It's important. People got to do this stuff. Seal sports in the spray whited circles of cliff wash. So he uses so few verbs. When you run across one, you're going, is it what? You know, the temptation is to read sports, a noun, and then seal preceding it as a noun acting as a modifier, almost like an adjective. In the spray whited circles of cliff wash. Well, there's an image. He's actually got some images and some stuff. That doesn't make it poetry. Okay. Imagery doesn't make things poetry. You can have imagery. Check James Joyce. He called himself a killed poet. He wrote some poetic passages. Images all over the place. Imagery does not make poetry. Get that straight, you imagists out there, you Sleekhead, daughter of Lear, L-I-R. I think that is kind of like the proper way to spell it. So King Lear is maybe based on a mythic, more than a legendary figure, native to the Celtic kind of people, okay? At least the British type of people. Lear, L-I-R, kind of like a god of the sea. Daughter of Lear. Why that's chucked in here, I don't know, because he's jumping around from Italian, so on and so forth. Then Italian, or Chinese, so shu churned in the sea. A little hard to say that one. And yeah, say that several times. Got a bit of a tongue twister there. Eyes of Picasso. Okay, there we got a Spaniard there. Picasso. I don't know. Did he have really dark eyes? I would want to have eyes of Picasso. I saw reality that's really kind of way. Plus, apparently, he was a comic too, but he was dying of it. Should have died of embarrassment. He made it maybe into the 70s or something like that. It's way too late to be a comic. Nowadays, it's way too late to be a commie. You commies out there, you slime. Under Black Fur Hood, live daughter of Ocean. So, daughter of Ocean, daughter of Lear. Really, daughter of King of the Oceans. And the wave runs in the beach groove. Like I've been reading that for on and off, more off, I've got to say, for decades. What's the beach groove? Maybe there's such a thing. I've walked along quite a few beaches here. I don't know if I've ever seen anything that you describe as a beach group. Eleanor. That's the English woman's name. Elenaus, Eleptolus. Those are two Greek words written in the Greek script here. Elenaus, Eleptolus. I had to look those ones up. Those aren't common Greek parlance. And it looks as though LA means destroyer. Nous is cognate with like juggernaut. I think knot actually means vessel or something like that. Seagoing vessel. Nautical comes from the same root. Navy comes from the same root. N-A-U-N-A-V. See the relationship? You don't. Sad case. So that means ship destroyer, Elena. And Eleptolus is a archaic. I really feel okay not knowing that one, having looked that one up, because Elab means destroyer, I guess, and Ptolus is a archaic kind of form of polis. So hopefully you know enough to know that that root P-O-L-I in Greek means city. So it's a city destroyer. For some reason or another, the archaic term used P-O-L-I. So Eleanor is actually a version